Right, so we've now looked at the three groups of epoxy that we have. What should we actually choose? We're going there, we've got our money in our pocket, we've got our credit card, we're going to buy some epoxy. What one out of the several hundreds that are out on the market should we be choosing? I think you've got to look first at what are you actually going to be doing. Are you going to be doing a project that is fairly big? Are you making a tiny repair in something that is going to take you an hour? If you're making a small repair in your boat, your worktop, whatever you're doing, I think very simply, whichever epoxy is readily available, that's the one to use. Simple as that. Don't mess about. Gonna get on with it. Get your repair done. End of the job. Because if it's a small job, then you've got the time to put up with any downsides of a particular brand of epoxy, and you can do the job. If, however, you are doing a bigger job that is going to take you more than a couple of hours, I think you've got to be sensible and start looking at what are we actually going to do. Are we going to be doing cloth work? Are we going to be doing gluing, fairing? Are we going to be putting a barrier coat on? What are we actually going to do? Now, once we've decided this and we know what we're going to be doing, the next thing that we've got to look at is how comfortable are we going to be using the product. Now, if you are going to be working in a confined space, an engine compartment, a locker, inside a small garage or a garden shed, please consider your environment. Get hold of some of these epoxies, go to shows, have a little look, and ask the guys, say to them, can you open the can for me? I want to smell what is in there. And just waft it towards your nose. Don't stick your nose in it, just waft it towards your nose. So we're going to go across and we're going to get hold of some epoxy, and in particular you want to be looking at the hardness. What does the hardness smell like? So we're going to have a look here. We've got some here. This is the Blue Fairer, Seafarer and Blue Dolphin hardener. It goes to both of the resins. And all we're doing is just wafting it towards us. We're not going to put our nose in it, but we want to waft this towards us. Yeah? How bad is that smell? The reason we want to know how bad it smells is if we've got to work in it, and we've got to work in some confined space, like up inside here, yeah, we are going to get a lot of vapor, smell given off. So we want particularly it to be not too strong. We don't want to be thinking, my God, this is going to give me headache, this is going to... They'll all tell you on every single can, on every single instruction, plenty of ventilation. The truth of the matter is we don't always get that ventilation that we should have. So give it some thought. How bad does it smell? The next consideration is, are we doing gluing? Are we fairing? Are we using cloth? If we're gluing and fairing, we want something that is fairly thick and goopiness as it comes out the can. because we don't want to be adding too much of the fillers that are around, and I will come on to fillers shortly. But we don't want to be adding too much of those. We want a pure epoxy. The more that we add to these epoxies, we're actually reducing their strength a little. Not too much, but we're reducing it a little. So we want something that's fairly gloopy to start with. However, if we are doing coating and cloth work, the very last thing that we want is something that is so thick that we can't spread it easily with our brush, our roller, or our spreader, and we want it to go into the cloth. All the cloth work that was done on this boat was done on the top in one hit. There are 3/4 layers of cloth on here, 600 gram cloth, that's 600 grams per square meter. It's thick stuff, it's battleship standard stuff. If you are using epoxies which they tell you put the epoxy on the surface first and lay your cloth on, walk away from it. It is such a bind to force it through the cloth. You'll also get in a mess trying to spread it and get your cloth to go flat, and you can end up with a ball of goop that you end up throwing away. You want epoxies that will go through the cloth. So you lay your cloth on first, you then simply pour your epoxy on top of the cloth that you've laid. This will then wick out, and it will wick out for you in such a way that you have very little to actually do. If you have one that you've got to force through the cloth and basically work hard at, you don't want that. You want to make this as pleasant as you possibly can. So we're looking in the first instance for a epoxy that will wick out. This is 3 layers, 600 gram and 2 450 gram over the centre keel. We're going to leave this tonight just to settle and lay itself out, and then tomorrow we'll epoxy it. We'll be mixing epoxy at a rate of 2 to 1, and we'll be mixing 5 litres at a time. We cannot do this with any other product apart from mass. We have tried all other products and we cannot mix enough without it going off in the bucket and causing fires and smoking and associated problems with heat transfer. Mass Slow will do this. It will soak through all the cloth right through to the substrate, and we'll have a clear finish. Keep you posted with a video once the job's done.
the way down a bit.
Yeah. Now, this is a board that I've just retrieved from the skip. We were just demonstrating the other week to one of our customers about wick out. This is a board with I think it's got 3 layers of 600 gram cloth. And all we did was we laid the cloth out on the board dry. We then poured the epoxy onto the board and it wicked out through the cloth. Now what we then did is once we got this bit here where it's wicked through, we then added some more and just spread this out with a roller to get a finished smooth final coat. If this was on a boat, we would then be Scotch-Brighting this down, to put on a final coat of either varnish or paint. And it's really that simple. Don't go with products that you have to put a coat of epoxy on first, then drape the cloth on top and then spread it out. It's a nightmare. It's hard work. You don't want to do it.